consciousness are completely subject to your control, though most people have never realized this tremendous power that is theirs to command. The average person believes that their fears and anxieties are caused by external conditions, by things happening out there in the world. This is the grand illusion that has kept humanity in bondage for countless generations. I tell you with absolute certainty that nothing outside of you causes your fear. Nothing in the world has the power to make you anxious. These states arise entirely from within, from the stories you tell yourself, from the assumptions you hold about your life. And if these states arise from within, then within is where they must be conquered. The first principle you must understand is this: your consciousness, your awareness, your I am is the only reality. Everything else, every person, object, and condition in your life is simply consciousness made visible. The world you experience is not causing your state of mind. Your state of mind is causing the world you experience. This is the foundation upon which we will build our freedom from fear and anxiety. You see, most people have it exactly backward. They believe that if their circumstances would change, then they could feel peace. If they had more money, they would not fear poverty. If they had perfect health, they would not fear illness. If everyone approved of them, they would not fear rejection. They place the solution outside themselves. And in doing so, they surrender their power to the very things they fear. But the truth, the absolute law of your being, is that the world is a mirror, faithfully reflecting your consciousness back to you. Change your consciousness first, and the reflection must change. This is not positive thinking or wishful fantasy. This is the creative law upon which all reality is based. When I tell you that your mind can heal itself, I am revealing the most practical secret in all of creation. The mind that created the fear is the only mind that can uncreate it. The consciousness that assumed anxiety to be your portion is the only consciousness that can assume a new state of peace. How do we accomplish this transformation? Not through struggle, not through willpower, not through endless analysis of our problems. These approaches keep us locked in the consciousness of the problem. We form by using the divine gift of imagination to experience ourselves as already free, already whole, already at peace. Your imagination is not a fantasy-making faculty given to entertain you during idle moments. It is nothing less than the creative power of God operating in you. When you use your imagination consciously, you are using the very power that creates and sustains universes. And this power can be directed to transform any condition in your life, including the conditions of fear and anxiety. Let me give you a simple example of how this works. If you are anxious about a future event, perhaps a medical diagnosis, a financial challenge, or a difficult conversation, your natural tendency is to imagine the worst. You see yourself receiving terrible news, losing everything, or being rejected. And as you dwell in this imaginal state, your body responds with all the physiological reactions of fear: increased heart rate, shallow breathing, muscle tension. Your entire being acts as if the dreaded event is happening right now, though it exists only in your imagination. Now, what if you were to use this same imaginative power differently? What if, instead of imagining the worst, you were to imagine the ideal outcome, not as a technique of self-deception, but as an exercise of your divine creative power? What if you were to feel yourself into the state of having already received the good news, having already resolved the financial issue, having already completed the conversation with perfect understanding on both sides? I tell you, when you do this with feeling, with the emotion of relief and gratitude that were yours if the desired state were already accomplished, you set in motion the creative forces that will externalize that state in your world. This is not magic or superstition. This is the precise operation of consciousness, which is the only creative power there is. Consider the words attributed to Jesus in the Gospel of Mark. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. This is not speaking of a future condition or a distant hope. It is telling you to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to enter the state of consciousness where your desire is already accomplished. From that state, And only from that state will the outer conditions rearrange themselves to match your inner assumption. Many of you have tried various techniques to overcome fear and anxiety. Perhaps you've practiced deep breathing, positive affirmations, or sought professional therapy. These approaches can be helpful steps along the way, but they do not address the fundamental cause of all fear and anxiety, the belief in a power outside of your own consciousness. As long as you believe that something external can harm you, control you, or determine your emotional state, you will remain vulnerable to fear and anxiety. But once you realize that the only creative power in your universe is your own wonderful human imagination, you will have discovered the secret to perfect freedom. You might ask, but what about real dangers in the world? Aren't some fears legitimate? Let me address this directly. Of course, there are conditions in the physical world that could harm the body. There are financial challenges, relationship difficulties, health concerns, and countless other situations that might seem worthy of fear. I am not suggesting that you deny these conditions exist on the level of physical reality. But I am telling you that these conditions have no power to create fear or anxiety within you unless you grant them that power through your own imaginative acts. The decision to fear or not to fear is always yours, regardless of outer circumstances. And more importantly, the creative power to transform those circumstances is also yours through the conscious use of your imagination. When you truly understand that your fear does not protect you, that in fact it attracts the very conditions you fear by keeping them alive in your consciousness, you will be ready to relinquish it. And when you understand that imagining the solution with feeling is infinitely more effective than analyzing the problem, you will have the key to transforming any situation in your life. Let me share with you a profound truth that has been taught by mystics throughout the ages. There is no outside. The entire vast universe that seems to surround you is contained within your consciousness. You are not a tiny being in a vast world. You are a vast consciousness in which the entire world exists. Nothing is outside of you because there is no outside to consciousness. And you are consciousness. You are the I am, the eternal awareness in which all experiences arise. From this understanding, fear and anxiety become not just unnecessary but impossible. How can you fear what is within you? What is subject to your creative command? How can you be anxious about conditions that are simply manifestations of your own states of consciousness? The practice I am giving you tonight is not a technique of self-improvement. It is the awakening to your true nature as the operant power in your universe. When you embody this truth, fear and anxiety dissolve not because you have conquered them, but because you have awakened from the dream in which they seemed real. Now, let me give you a practical approach to applying this wisdom in your daily life. When you find yourself experiencing fear or anxiety, do not fight against these states or condemn yourself for experiencing them. Instead, simply observe them without judgment, recognizing that they are temporary states of consciousness, not your true identity. Then quietly and without effort, turn your attention to the state you wish to embody instead. If you are anxious about your health, feel yourself into the state of vibrant well-being. If you are fearful about your finances, feel the relief and security of abundant resources. If you are worried about a relationship, feel the joy of perfect understanding and harmony. The key is to enter these states completely in your imagination, to experience them with all the sensory vividness you can muster. See through the eyes of the person who has already attained what you desire. Hear the conversations you would hear. Feel the emotions you would feel. Make it as real in your consciousness as the room in which you are now sitting. And here is the crucial point. Do not see this as a technique to get something in the future. See it as stepping into the truth that transcends time. The state you are imagining is not something to be attained. It is something to be accepted as the present reality of your being. You are not creating something new. You are awakening to what has always been true beneath the surface appearances. Many people fail in their attempts to apply these principles because they approach them with the consciousness of effort and struggle. They try to force their way into a new state of being. But freedom from fear and anxiety cannot be achieved through force. It can only be accepted through surrender to your true nature. Surrender does not mean giving up or resigning yourself to unwanted conditions. It means surrendering the false self, the anxious, fearful personality that you have mistaken for your identity. It means falling back into the infinite peace of your true self, the I am that has never been touched by fear or limitation of any kind. Think of it this way. If you were dreaming at night and found yourself in a frightening situation, there would be two ways to escape the fear. You could try to solve the problem within the dream, struggling against dream enemies and obstacles. Or you could simply wake up, instantly transcending the entire dream situation. The practice I am giving you is the art of waking up from the dream of fear and anxiety rather than struggling against them on their own level. This awakening is not a one-time event, but a continuous process of remembering your true nature. Each time you catch yourself in a state of fear or anxiety, it is an opportunity to practice this remembrance, to shift your identification from the limited personality to the infinite I am. I want to address another question that might arise in your mind. If my consciousness creates my reality, does that mean I am to blame for my problems? This question comes from the limited perspective of the personality, with its tendency to judge and condemn. From the perspective of your true self, there is no blame, only the neutral operation of creative law. You have been creating your life experiences through your states of consciousness, but you have been doing so unconsciously, unaware of your creative power. Now you are becoming conscious of this process, and with consciousness comes choice. You are not to blame for having created unconsciously in the past, but you are responsible for creating consciously from this moment forward. Responsibility in this context does not mean burden or guilt. It means the wonderful discovery that you have the ability to respond creatively to life, rather than react fearfully to it. It is the recognition of your power, not your culpability. Now, some of you might wonder how this understanding applies to collective fears and anxieties, to conditions that seem to affect entire communities or nations. If consciousness is individual, how do we account for shared experiences of fear? The answer lies in understanding that while consciousness is individual, it is not isolated. We are all individualized expressions of the one universal consciousness. When many individuals share similar assumptions and imaginal acts, they create collective experiences. The mass fear you see in the world is the outpicturing of millions of individual minds, imagining similar scenarios and emotionalizing similar beliefs. But here is where your power becomes truly revolutionary. You do not need to change the consciousness of millions to transform your experience. You only need to change your own. When you refuse to participate in collective fear, when you maintain your state of peace and wholeness regardless of appearances, you become a light in the darkness, a demonstration of what is possible for all. Moreover, because consciousness is fundamental and interconnected, your shift in awareness creates ripples that extend far beyond your individual experience. By maintaining a consciousness of peace in a world of turmoil, you contribute more to the healing of that world than any amount of outer activity done from a state of fear. This is what all the great spiritual teachers have meant when they spoke of being in the world but not of it. You acknowledge the appearances that surround you, but you do not grant them the power to determine your state of being. Instead, you know yourself as the power that can transform those appearances through the conscious use of your imagination. Let me emphasize again that this is not about denying or avoiding the challenges of human existence. It is about facing them from a completely different level of consciousness. From the state of fear, problems appear insurmountable. From the state of your divine self, they become opportunities for creative expression. Think of a master artist facing a blank canvas. Does the artist fear the emptiness before them? No, they are excited by the opportunity to express what is within them. Life is offering you the same opportunity at every moment to express the infinite potential that is your true nature, rather than react with fear to external conditions. The secret to living without fear and anxiety forever is to know yourself as the creator rather than the creation, the dreamer rather than the dream. From this knowing, you relate to life's challenges not as threats, but as the raw material for your creative expression. Your mind can get itself. because your mind is not broken. What appears as fear, anxiety are simply misunderstandings about your true nature and the nature of reality. When these misunderstandings are corrected, healing happens spontaneously, not as something you achieve, but as the natural expression of what you are. You might wonder how long this healing process takes. The answer is that it takes no time at all, and also the rest of your life. The shift in consciousness that dispels fear can happen in an instant. The moment you truly recognize yourself as the divine I am, rather than the limited personality. Yet the expression of this truth through all the conditions of your life is an ongoing unfoldment, a continuous adventure of creative self-discovery. Some of you may have tried to apply spiritual principles in the past without experiencing the results you desire. If this is the case for you, consider whether you are approaching these teachings as techniques to get something, rather than revelations of what you already are. The difference is subtle but crucial. When you approach the truth of your being as something to be attained in the future, you affirm its absence in the present. This creates an endless cycle of seeking but never finding, because what you are seeking is what is seeking. When instead you approach these principles as confirmations of your true nature, already perfect and complete, you allow that perfection to express itself naturally through the conditions of your life. The mind cannot heal itself through its own efforts because effort implies the very division the healing seeks to overcome. The mind heals when it surrenders to the wholeness that it already is, beneath the surface appearance of division and conflict. This surrender is not passive resignation, but active acceptance. It is the conscious decision to identify with the solution rather than the problem, with wholeness rather than fragmentation, with peace rather than turmoil. And this decision is made not once, but moment by moment as you navigate the changing conditions of your life. Each time you catch yourself in a state of fear or anxiety, simply observe. I am temporarily identified with a limited state of consciousness. Now I choose to remember who I truly am. Then feel yourself expanding beyond the limited state, embracing the freedom and peace that are your birthright. Over time, you will notice that the intervals between episodes of fear become longer, and the intensity and duration of the episodes themselves diminish. This happens not because you are becoming better at controlling fear, but because you are becoming more established in the consciousness that transcends fear altogether. Remember that fear and anxiety always project themselves into time. They are concerned with what might happen in the future, or with the consequences of what happened in the past. They cannot exist in the eternal now, which is where your true self resides. By bringing your awareness fully into the present moment, you step out of the stream of time where fear and anxiety operate. This present moment awareness is not a technique, but your natural state of being. It is what you are beneath the constant movement of thought. When you rest in this awareness, you discover that there is nothing to fear, because there is no separate self to be threatened. There is only the one indivisible consciousness expressing itself as all that is. From this understanding, the solution to fear and anxiety is not to acquire something you lack, but to let go of something that was never truly yours. The identification with a separate, vulnerable self that exists in time. This letting go is not achieved through effort or willpower, but through recognition of what has always been true. The mind heals itself when it recognizes its own wholeness. This recognition is not intellectual but experiential. It comes in moments of complete presence, when the constant chatter of thought subsides and you touch the silent awareness that is your essential nature. Many spiritual traditions offer practices to facilitate this recognition: meditation, prayer, contemplation, sacred movement. These can be valuable aids on your journey, but remember that they are means to an end, not the end itself. The goal is not to become good at techniques, but to awaken to the truth of your being that makes all techniques unnecessary. As you live from this awakened perspective, you will find that not only do fear and anxiety lose their grip on your consciousness, but all aspects of your life begin to flow with greater ease and grace. Relationships improve, creative solutions appear where once there were only problems, and you discover resources within yourself that you never knew existed. This transformation occurs not because you have learned to manipulate, reality through mental techniques, but because you have aligned yourself with the creative flow that is reality's true nature. You have stepped out of your own way, allowing the infinite intelligence that sustains the universe to express itself through the unique form that is you. In this alignment, you discover that what you truly want and what life wants for you are the same thing. The desires that arise from your authentic self are not separate from the universal creative impulse, but expressions of it. When you act from this place of alignment, there is no strain or struggle, only the joy of creative participation in life's unfolding. Fear and anxiety arise from the illusion of separation, the belief that you are a fragmented entity in a world of hostile forces. When this illusion dissolves in the light of your true nature, what remains is a profound sense of connection with all that is. From this connection comes a trust in life that makes fear unnecessary and anxiety impossible. This trust is not naive optimism or blind faith. It is the clear recognition that the same intelligence that keeps your heart beating and the planets orbiting is guiding your life with flawless precision. Everything that happens is part of your awakening to this truth. Even the experiences that the separate self would judge as painful or unwanted. From the perspective of your divine self, there are no mistakes or accidents in your life, only opportunities for growth and awakening. The challenges that once triggered fear become doorways to deeper understanding. The relationships that once caused anxiety become mirrors reflecting aspects of yourself that seek integration and healing. This shift in perception, from seeing life as a threat to recognizing it as a teacher, is the essence of all spiritual growth. It is the journey from fear to love, from contraction to expansion, from the limited personality to the infinite I am. And this journey is not linear, but spiraling. You will revisit old patterns and triggered responses, but each time from a higher perspective with greater awareness. What once seemed like overwhelming fear may return as a gentle reminder to stay present. What once manifested as debilitating anxiety may reappear as an invitation to trust more deeply. The secret to living without fear and anxiety forever is to embrace this spiraling journey, not resisting the temporary reappearances of old patterns, but welcoming them as opportunities to apply your growing awareness. Each time you respond to fear with presence rather than resistance, you accelerate your awakening. Now let me address a practical concern that often arises. What about immediate instinctive fear responses? How can consciousness control those? It's true that the body has built in survival mechanisms that operate beneath the level of conscious thought. If you step into the street and see a car speeding toward you, your body will react instantly with a fear response that helps you jump to safety. This kind of instinctive response is part of the body's intelligence and serves an important purpose. I am not suggesting that you should try to override these natural survival mechanisms. Rather, I'm speaking about the psychological fears and anxieties that persist beyond their usefulness, that project themselves into an imagined future and create suffering in the present. These psychological fears, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of the unknown, these are the product of consciousness identified with limitation. And since they arise from consciousness, they can be transformed by consciousness. The instinctive fear that helps you avoid immediate physical danger will still operate when needed, but it will no longer extend into the chronic anxiety that dominates so many lives. In fact, when psychological fear and anxiety diminish, the body's natural intelligence functions more effectively. Your instincts become sharper, your intuition clearer, and your responses to real threats more appropriate. You neither overreact to minor challenges nor underreact to situations that require attention. This balance between appropriate response to real conditions and freedom from psychological fear is the hallmark of awakened living. It is not a superhuman state, but your natural condition when the accumulated tensions and conditioned responses of the separate self are allowed to unwind in the light of awareness. The unwinding happens naturally when you stop feeding the fear with your attention and belief. Fear, like any state of consciousness, requires your participation to sustain itself. When you withdraw your identification from fearful thoughts and emotions, they begin to lose their grip on your awareness. This doesn't mean suppressing or denying these thoughts and emotions when they arise. Suppression only drives them deeper into the unconscious, where they continue to operate beyond your awareness. Instead, you simply observe them without judgment, recognizing them as temporary movements in consciousness, not the truth of who you are. This practice of non-judgmental observation creates space around the fear, preventing it from consuming your identity. In this space, you discover that you are not the fear, but the awareness in which fear appears. This awareness, boundless, peaceful, and ever-present, is your true nature, untouched by the coming and going of emotional states. From this awareness, you can choose consciously which states of consciousness to embody. You are no longer at the mercy of habitual reactions, but can respond creatively to life's challenges from a place of centered presence. This is the freedom that awaits you on the other side of fear and anxiety. You might wonder whether this freedom means you will never experience fear or anxiety again. The truth is more nuanced. As long as you are having a human experience, the full range of human emotions will be available to you. But your relationship to these emotions changes fundamentally. Rather than being identified with fear when it arises, you recognize it as a movement in the field of your awareness. You can acknowledge its message. Perhaps it's alerting you to something that needs attention without being defined by it. In this way, fear becomes not an oppressive state that controls you, but simply information passing through your consciousness. This transformed relationship with fear is one of the most liberating aspects of spiritual awakening. You no longer need to fear fear itself. You no longer attempt to create a life where no fear arises, which is impossible as long as you are human. Instead, you develop the capacity to be with whatever arises in your experience with equanimity and presence. This capacity is developed through practice. Each time you meet fear with conscious awareness, rather than resistance or identification, you strengthen this muscle of presence. Over time, what once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable, and what seemed manageable becomes an opportunity for deeper awakening. The mind heals itself not by eliminating all challenging emotions, but by expanding to include them within a larger field of awareness. This expansion is your birthright as a conscious being. It is the natural movement of consciousness from limitation toward wholeness, from fragmentation toward integration. This healing happens most readily when you create the conditions for it through regular periods of quiet presence. Whether you call it meditation, prayer, or simply being, the practice of resting as awareness accelerates the mind's natural movement toward wholeness. In these quiet moments, you temporarily step out of the stream of doing and into the state of being. You let go of all efforts to change or improve yourself and simply rest in the recognition of what you already are. From this resting, a natural realignment occurs. The scattered energies of the mind gather themselves around the center of pure awareness. And wholeness emerges not as an achievement, but as a revelation. This revelation of wholeness is available to you right now, in this very moment. It requires no special circumstances, no perfect understanding, no completed self-improvement project. It requires only your willingness to be present with what is, to recognize the awareness that is rating these words as your essential nature, and to allow everything else, all thoughts, emotions, sensations, and perceptions, to arise and pass within this awareness without defining it. In this simple recognition lies the key to freedom from fear and anxiety forever. Not because these states will never arise in your experience, but because you will no longer be confined or distant. You will know yourself as the vast, unchanging awareness in which all states arise and pass, like clouds moving through the clear sky of your being. From this knowing, you live with a deep trust in life that makes anxiety unnecessary. You recognize that the same intelligence that coordinates trillions of cells in your body, that keeps the stars in their courses, is orchestrating the unfolding of your life with flawless precision. Every experience, pleasant or painful, is part of this perfect unfolding, guiding you toward the full expression of your divine nature. This trust does not make you passive or fatalistic. On the contrary, it empowers you to participate consciously in life's creative process. From the state of trust, your actions arise not from fear or compulsion, but from inspiration and love. You no longer need to force outcomes through willpower or manipulation, but can allow your authentic desires to manifest through alignment with the universal creative flow. In this alignment, you discover that life supports you in ways you could not have imagined from the perspective of fear. Doors open up were invisible from the limited viewpoint of the separate self. Resources appear precisely when needed. Synchronicities abound, confirming that you are never alone, but always held in the intelligent embrace of the universe. This supportive presence becomes increasingly tangible as you learn to trust it. The more you relax into the knowledge that life is for you, not against you, the more evidence of this truth appears in your experience. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle of trust and confirmation, gradually replacing the old cycle of fear and self-fulfilling negative expectation. The secret to living without fear and anxiety forever is to establish yourself in this new cycle, this new pattern of consciousness. You do this not through heroic effort, but through moment-by-moment choice to align with your true nature rather than with the conditioned patterns of the separate self. Each time you choose peace over fear, trust over anxiety, presence over avoidance, you strengthen the neural pathways of awakened consciousness. What begins as a deliberate choice gradually becomes your default state, your natural way of being in the world. This transformation is both the most natural thing in the world, simply returning to your true state, and the most profound achievement of a human life. It is the journey for which you were born, the purpose behind all your experiences, the destination toward which all paths ultimately lead. The mind can heal itself because at its core, the mind is already whole. What we call healing is simply the removal of the obstacles to the recognition of this wholeness. These obstacles, primarily the identification with the separate, limited self and the fears that arise from this identification, dissolve in the light of conscious awareness. This dissolution is not something you do, but something you allow. It happens naturally when you stop reinforcing the illusion of separation through your attention and belief. When you withdraw your investment in fearful thoughts and stories, they begin to lose their apparent reality. What remains is the clear recognition of your true nature as boundless awareness in which all experiences arise and pass without leaving a trace. From this recognition, fear and anxiety become increasingly foreign to your experience. They may still appear as movements in consciousness, but they no longer define or confine you. You remain centered in the peace that is your essential nature, regardless of the changing conditions of your life. This is the freedom I offer you tonight, not freedom from the full range of human experience, but freedom from identification with any part of that experience as the truth of who you are. It is the freedom to be fully human, while knowing yourself as the divine awareness in which humanity appears. This freedom is your birthright. It is what you are beneath all appearances. And it is available to you now in this very moment, through the simple recognition of your true nature as the awareness in which all things arise and pass away. The secret to living without fear and anxiety forever is to live from this recognition, not as an intellectual concept, but as your moment-to-moment experience. It is to know yourself as the peace you seek, the wholeness you desire, the freedom you long for. It is to recognize that what you are looking for is what is looking. In this recognition, the search ends and true living begins. Living not from the limited perspective of a separate self struggling against the threatening world, but from the unlimited awareness that is the source and substance of all that is. From this living, fear and anxiety naturally fall away, revealed as the transient appearances they always were, leaving only the peace that passes all understanding, the peace that is your true nature and your eternal home.
Imagine just for a moment that you possess a power so profound, so limitless that it could shape the very fabric of your existence. A power that transcends the physical world, defies logic, and operates on a plane where the impossible becomes possible. This power is not a distant dream or a mystical force reserved for the few. It is a reality that resides within each one of us. It is the power of imagination. Imagination creates reality. This simple yet profound truth has been echoed throughout history by great thinkers, visionaries, and spiritual leaders. It is the cornerstone of Neville Goddard's teachings, where he passionately proclaimed that the human imagination is the divine spark within us, all the creative force that molds our lives and shapes our destinies. Many of us live in a world dictated by external circumstances. We see ourselves as victims of fate, buffeted by the winds of chance, and confined by the limitations of the material world. Yet, what if I told you that the world you perceive, the life you live, is but a reflection of your inner state? What if I told you that the true power to change your life lies not in the hands of others, not in the ebb and flow of fortune, but in your ability to imagine? Imagination is not mere fantasy or idle daydreaming. It is the conscious and deliberate use of the mind to create new realities. It is the ability to envision a desired outcome with such clarity and conviction that it becomes a living, breathing reality within you. And as you dwell in this imagined state, as you feel its truth, it begins to manifest in your physical world. This concept may seem abstract or even far-fetched, but consider this: every great achievement, every invention, every work of art, every monumental change in human history began as a seed of imagination in the mind of someone who dared to believe in the unseen. The skyscrapers that pierce the sky, the technological marvels that connect us, the social movements that reshape societies, all were born from the imagination of individuals who saw beyond what was and envisioned what could be. You too possess this extraordinary power. The question is not whether you are using it, but how you are using it. Are you imagining a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment, or are you unconsciously imagining a life of lack, limitation, and struggle? The reality you experience is a direct reflection of the thoughts you hold in your mind and the images you consistently entertain in your imagination. The power of imagination is one of the most profound and transformative forces within the human experience. It is the faculty that allows us to transcend the limitations of our immediate reality and envision possibilities beyond the confines of our current circumstances. Imagination is not merely a tool for creativity or a source of entertainment. It is the very foundation upon which all human progress is built. It is through imagination that we conceive of new ideas, innovate, and bring forth creations that have the potential to change the world. When we speak of the power of imagination, we are referring to its ability to shape our perception of reality and in turn influence the outcomes we experience in our lives. Imagination operates on the principle that what we consistently visualize and emotionally invest in will eventually manifest in our physical world. This principle is rooted in the understanding that our thoughts are not passive or inert, they are dynamic and creative. Each thought we hold carries a vibrational frequency that resonates with corresponding elements in the universe, attracting experiences and conditions that align with those thoughts. The power of imagination is evident in every great achievement throughout history. From the grandest architectural marvels to the most groundbreaking technological advancements, every creation first existed as an idea in someone's mind. The Wright brothers, for example, imagined a world where humans could fly long before the first airplane took to the skies. Thomas Edison envisioned a world illuminated by electric light before the light bulb became a reality. These individuals did not merely wish for these outcomes, they actively engaged their imagination to see, feel, and believe in their creations before they materialized. This power is not reserved for the few, it is a universal gift available to all. Whether we are aware of it or not, we are constantly using our imagination to create our reality. The images and scenarios we replay in our minds, the emotions we attach to them, and the beliefs we hold all contribute to the shaping of our experiences. The key to harnessing this power lies in becoming conscious of how we use our imagination. Instead of allowing it to run wild with fear, doubt, or negativity, we can deliberately direct it towards positive and constructive outcomes. By cultivating a disciplined and intentional use of imagination, we can begin to shape our reality in alignment with our deepest desires and aspirations. This process requires faith and persistence, as the results may not be immediate. However, with continued practice, the power of imagination will inevitably bring forth the experiences and opportunities that resonate with our envisioned reality. Imagination serves as the creative force that drives the evolution of both the individual and society at large. At its core, imagination is the capacity to form mental images, concepts, and ideas that are not immediately present to the senses. However, its function extends far beyond mere visualization or fantasy. Imagination is the engine of creation, the very process through which thoughts and ideas are transformed into tangible reality. This creative force operates on the premise that the mind is a powerful, dynamic entity capable of generating new realities through focused thought and belief. The act of imagining something with clarity and emotional intensity plants a seed in the fertile ground of consciousness. Over time, this seed grows, nurtured by consistent attention and belief, until it manifests as a physical reality. This process is often described as the law of attraction, or the principle of mental causation, where like attracts like and thoughts become things. Imagination as a creative force is responsible for the genesis of all human achievements. Every innovation, every work of art, and every societal change began as a figment of someone's imagination. Consider the world's greatest inventions, the automobile, the telephone, the internet, all of which started as ideas in the minds of visionaries who dared to imagine what did not yet exist. These inventors used their imagination not just to dream, but to explore the possibilities and potentials of their ideas. They visualized, iterated, and refined these concepts in their minds before bringing them to life. But the creative force of imagination is not limited to grand inventions or monumental changes. It also plays a crucial role in our everyday lives. Whether we are aware of it or not, we constantly use our imagination to create our personal experiences. When we visualize success, happiness, or abundance, and genuinely believe in these outcomes, we are actively engaging the creative force of imagination. This force then aligns our thoughts, actions, and the circumstances around us to bring these visions into reality. Moreover, imagination as a creative force is deeply intertwined with the concept of faith. Faith, in this context, is the belief in the unseen, the conviction that what we imagine can and will come to pass. Without faith, imagination remains a mere fantasy, a fleeting thought without substance. But when faith is combined with imagination, it becomes a powerful tool for creation. It is this combination that allows individuals to overcome obstacles, persist in the face of adversity, and ultimately manifest their desires. This creative process is not linear or always immediate. It often requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to hold on to the vision, even when external circumstances seem to contradict it. Yet history is replete with examples of individuals who use their imagination as a creative force to turn dreams into reality. They understood that imagination is not bound by the limitations of the present, it transcends time and space, allowing them to create a future that aligns with their highest aspirations. In personal development, recognizing imagination as a creative force empowers individuals to take control of their lives. Instead of passively reacting to circumstances, they learn to actively shape their reality by consciously directing their thoughts and imagination towards desired outcomes. This shift in perspective can be transformative, enabling people to break free from limiting beliefs and patterns, and to create a life that truly reflects their deepest desires and potentials. In essence, imagination as a creative force is the mechanism by which we mold our reality. It is the tool through which we can transcend our current limitations and bring forth new possibilities. By understanding and harnessing this power, we can become the architects of our lives, consciously creating a reality that aligns with our true desires and aspirations. Imagination, when understood as the creative force it is, stands in stark contrast to the way many people view and interact with the world around them. We often live in a society that places significant emphasis on external circumstances, the things that happen to us, the conditions in which we find ourselves, and the events that shape our daily lives. These external factors are frequently seen as the determining forces of our happiness, success, and overall well-being. However, the principle of imagination versus external circumstances challenges this common perception, asserting that the true power to shape our reality lies not in the world around us, but within our own minds. External circumstances are, by their nature, ever-changing and often unpredictable. We are taught to respond to these changes, to adapt, and to find ways to navigate the challenges they present. While this reactive approach is necessary for survival, it can also create a mindset where we feel like victims of fate, at the mercy of forces beyond our control. This way of thinking can lead to feelings of powerlessness and frustration, especially when we encounter situations that seem insurmountable or unfair. Imagination, however, offers an entirely different perspective. Rather than merely reacting to the world as it is, imagination allows us to envision the world as it could be. It empowers us to see beyond the limitations of our current circumstances and to create a new reality from within. This shift from external to internal focus is transformative. Instead of allowing our external environment to dictate our thoughts and feelings, we use our imagination to generate the thoughts and feelings that we want to experience. In doing so, we begin to influence our environment rather than being shaped by it. This concept is not about ignoring reality or pretending that challenges don't exist. It is about recognizing that our perception of reality is largely shaped by our imagination. Two people can experience the same external event yet interpret it in completely different ways based on their inner state. One might see a challenge as an insurmountable obstacle, while the other might view it as an opportunity for growth and learning. The difference lies in how each person uses their imagination to frame the situation. By harnessing the power of imagination, we can begin to take control of our external circumstances rather than being controlled by them. This process involves cultivating a disciplined mind that deliberately chooses to focus on desired outcomes rather than undesired ones. It means consistently imagining success, abundance, health, and happiness, even in the face of current circumstances that may suggest otherwise. Over time, this positive focus begins to alter our reality, as our thoughts and beliefs shape the actions we take and the results we achieve. Moreover, imagination provides the resilience needed to face adversity. When confronted with difficult external circumstances, those who can maintain a positive, imaginative vision of the future are more likely to persevere and find ways to overcome obstacles. Their ability to imagine a better reality fuels their motivation and determination, helping them to stay focused on their goals even when the going gets tough. This resilience is not just about enduring challenges, but about transforming them into stepping stones towards greater achievements. But in the context of personal growth and success, understanding the dynamic between imagination and external circumstances is crucial. It allows us to move from a reactive to a proactive stance in life. Instead of waiting for the world to change or for circumstances to improve, we use our imagination to create the change we wish to see. This empowers us to live more consciously and intentionally, crafting a life that reflects our true desires and potentials, rather than merely adapting to the conditions imposed by the external world. The principle of imagination versus external circumstances teaches us that while we may not always have control over what happens to us, we always have control over how we respond. And it is through the power of imagination that we can transform our response into a powerful creative act that shapes our reality in alignment with our highest aspirations. The role of belief in manifestation is central to the process of turning imagination into reality. While imagination is the faculty that allows us to visualize new possibilities and create mental images of our desires, belief is the force that gives those images the power to materialize in the physical world. Without belief, imagination remains merely a collection of fleeting thoughts and daydreams, ideas without substance or impact. It is belief that bridges the gap between the imagined and the real, transforming abstract ideas into tangible experiences. Belief operates on the principle that what we accept as true, we create in our reality. This means that our deeply held convictions, whether conscious or unconscious, act as a filter through which our experiences are shaped. If we believe that we are capable, worthy, and deserving of success, our actions, decisions, and the opportunities that come our way will reflect that belief. Conversely, if we harbor doubts about our abilities or question our worthiness, those doubts will manifest as obstacles, limitations, and missed opportunities. Belief is not just a mental assent to an idea, it is an emotional and psychological alignment with that idea. When we believe something deeply, it influences not only our thoughts, but also our emotions, attitudes, and behaviors. For instance, if you believe that you are destined to achieve a particular goal, this belief will inspire confidence, determination, and perseverance. You will be more likely to take the necessary steps, overcome challenges, and stay focused on your path, because your belief supports and sustains you. One of the key insights from the study of belief and manifestation is that our beliefs are often self-fulfilling prophecies. This concept, often referred to as the law of assumption, suggests that whatever we assume to be true in our minds will eventually become our reality. If you assume that the world is full of opportunities and that success is inevitable, your mind will naturally seek out and create conditions that align with that assumption. On the other hand, if you assume that life is a struggle and that success is out of reach, your experiences will likely confirm that negative belief. The power of belief in manifestation can be observed in many areas of life, from personal achievements to health, relationships, and even broader social phenomena. Consider the placebo effect in medicine, where patients who believe they are receiving effective treatment often experience real improvements in their condition, even when the treatment is inert. This demonstrates the profound impact that belief can have on physical reality. Similarly, individuals who believe in their ability to succeed in their careers are more likely to achieve their goals, as their belief drives them to take consistent action, seize opportunities, and persist in the face of challenges. However, belief can also be a double-edged sword. Negative or limiting beliefs can sabotage our efforts and keep us stuck in patterns of failure and frustration. These beliefs are often deeply ingrained, formed through past experiences, cultural conditioning, or repeated negative self-talk. For example, a person who believes they are not good enough may unconsciously undermine their own success by procrastinating, avoiding challenges, or settling for less than they deserve. Breaking free from these limiting beliefs requires self-awareness, a willingness to challenge and change old patterns of thinking, and the cultivation of new, empowering beliefs. The process of building and reinforcing belief in manifestation involves several key steps. First, it requires clarity about what you truly desire. Vague or conflicted desires can lead to conflicting beliefs, which in turn produce mixed results. Once you are clear about your goals, you need to cultivate a strong, unwavering belief in your ability to achieve them. This involves visualizing your desired outcome regularly, affirming your belief in its inevitability, and aligning your actions with your desired reality. Moreover, belief must be accompanied by trust in the process. Manifestation is not always instantaneous. It often requires time, patience, and persistence. There may be periods where progress seems slow or obstacles appear insurmountable. But during these times, maintaining belief is crucial. Doubt and fear are natural responses, but they must be managed and overcome through continued focus on the desired outcome and confidence in its realization. In addition to personal belief, the collective beliefs of a community or society can also influence manifestation. Shared beliefs create a collective reality, shaping cultural norms, societal structures, and the overall environment in which individuals operate. Understanding this can empower you to align your personal beliefs with those that support your goals, while also challenging and transforming collective beliefs that may be limiting or outdated. Belief is the catalyst that turns imagination into reality. It is the inner conviction that what you imagine and desire is not only possible but inevitable. By cultivating strong, positive beliefs and aligning them with your goals, you harness the full power of manifestation, creating a life that reflects your deepest aspirations and potentials. Belief is not just a passive state of mind, it is an active force that shapes your destiny, driving you towards the fulfillment of your dreams. Imagination as conscious creation is a powerful concept that underscores the deliberate and intentional use of imagination to shape one's reality. Unlike passive daydreaming or random thoughts that pass through the mind, conscious creation involves actively harnessing the power of imagination to bring about desired outcomes in life. This process is rooted in the understanding that our thoughts, when combined with focused intention and belief, have the ability to influence and even create the circumstances we experience. At its core, conscious creation is about taking control of the creative process that is constantly at work within us. Whether we are aware of it or not, our imagination is always active, generating ideas, scenarios, and mental images that influence our emotions, behaviors, and ultimately our reality. However, without conscious direction, this process can lead to the manifestation of experiences that are not aligned with our true desires or goals. It is easy to fall into patterns of negative thinking, worry, or fear, which can then create unwanted outcomes. Conscious creation, therefore, is about stepping into the role of the deliberate creator of your life. It involves recognizing that you have the ability to choose what you focus on and what you imagine, and understanding that these choices directly impact the reality you experience. This concept is empowering because it shifts the locus of control from external circumstances to your inner world. Instead of feeling like a victim of life's events, you begin to see yourself as the architect of your own destiny. The process of conscious creation begins with clarity of intention. This means having a clear and specific idea of what you want to create in your life. Whether it is a successful career, a loving relationship, improved health, or any other goal, clarity is essential because it provides a target for your imagination to focus on. Without a clear intention, your imagination may wander aimlessly, producing inconsistent or mixed results. Once you have clarity of intention, the next step is to actively engage your imagination in visualizing the desired outcome. This involves more than just thinking about what you want. It requires creating a vivid mental picture of the outcome, as if it has already been achieved. The more detailed and sensory rich this visualization, the more powerful it becomes. By imagining yourself living in the reality you desire, you begin to align your thoughts and emotions with that outcome, making it more likely to manifest. Belief is another key component of conscious creation. For your imagination to effectively create your desired reality, you must believe that it is possible. Doubt and skepticism can weaken the creative process, causing delays or even preventing the manifestation altogether. Building belief involves affirming your faith in your ability to create your reality and trusting in the process of manifestation. This trust is particularly important when the results are not immediately visible. It is during these times that many people lose faith and revert to old patterns of negative thinking, which can undo the progress made. In addition to belief, action plays a critical role in conscious creation. While imagination and belief set the foundation, action is what brings your imagined reality into the physical world. This does not mean forcing things to happen, but rather taking inspired actions that are in alignment with your desired outcome. These are actions that feel natural and intuitive, often arising from a place of inner guidance. When you act in harmony with your imagination and beliefs, you create a powerful synergy that accelerates the manifestation process. Conscious creation is also about persistence and consistency. The process of creating a new reality is not always instantaneous. It often requires sustained focus and effort over time. This means regularly engaging in practices that support your creative intentions, such as daily visualization, affirmations, and maintaining a positive mindset. It also means staying committed to your goals, even when faced with challenges or setbacks. Persistence is what separates those who successfully manifest their desires from those who do not. Moreover, conscious creation is an ongoing process. Once you achieve a desired outcome, it is important to continue using your imagination and belief to sustain and build upon that success. Life is dynamic, and the act of creation never truly ends. There is always room for growth, expansion, and new experiences. By continuously engaging in conscious creation, you can keep evolving and improving your life in alignment with your highest aspirations. Imagination as conscious creation is about taking an active role in shaping your reality through the deliberate use of your imagination. It involves clarity of intention, vivid visualization, emotional engagement, belief, inspired action, persistence, and a commitment to ongoing creation. By mastering these elements, you can harness the full power of your imagination to create a life that reflects your deepest desires and true potential. This process not only transforms your external circumstances, but also empowers you to live with greater purpose, fulfillment, and joy. The historical examples of imagination in action serve as powerful testimonies to the transformative power of the human mind. Throughout history, imagination has been the driving force behind some of the most significant advancements and achievements in human civilization. These examples illustrate how imagination, when combined with vision, determination, and belief, can bring forth extraordinary changes and shape the course of history. By examining these instances, we can gain a deeper understanding of how imagination has been and continues to be a catalyst for progress and innovation. One of the most iconic examples of imagination in action is the story of the Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, who are credited with inventing and building the world's first successful airplane. In the early 20th century, the idea of human flight was considered a fantasy, something that belonged to the realm of dreams and myth. Despite the widespread skepticism, the Wright brothers were able to imagine a world where humans could soar through the skies like birds. Their unwavering belief in this vision fueled years of experimentation, failures, and refinements. In 1903, their imagination became a reality when they successfully achieved powered flight with the Wright flight at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Their invention not only revolutionized transportation, but also opened up new possibilities for global connectivity and exploration, profoundly altering the trajectory of human civilization. Another profound example of imagination in action is found in the life of Thomas Edison, one of the most prolific inventors in history. Edison held over 1,000 patents, with some of his most famous inventions including the phonograph, the motion picture camera, and the electric light bulb. The electric light bulb, in particular, exemplifies the power of imagination. Before its invention, the idea of lighting homes and streets with electricity seemed far-fetched. Gas lamps and candles were the norm, and the concept of electric light was something that many people could not even conceive. However, Edison's imagination allowed him to envision a world illuminated by electric light. Through relentless experimentation and innovation, he overcame numerous challenges, and in 1879, he successfully developed a practical and long-lasting electric light bulb. Edison's imagination not only transformed the way people lived, but also laid the foundation for modern electrical infrastructure, which is now an essential part of daily life. Imagination has also played a pivotal role in the field of science and medicine. Consider the story of Dr. Jonas Salk, who developed the first successful polio vaccine. In the early 20th century, polio was a devastating disease that left thousands of people, particularly children, paralyzed or dead each year. The fear of polio was pervasive, and finding a cure seemed like an insurmountable challenge. However, Salk imagined a world where polio could be eradicated. He believed that a vaccine could be developed to prevent the disease and dedicated himself to this vision. In 1955, after years of research and testing, Salk's imagination became a reality when his polio vaccine was declared safe and effective. The widespread distribution of the vaccine led to a dramatic decline in polio cases and eventually to the near eradication of the disease worldwide. Salk's imagination not only saved countless lives but also changed the future of public health. In the realm of social change, imagination has been a crucial force behind movements that have reshaped societies. One of the most powerful examples is the civil rights movement in the United States, led by figures such as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., at a time when racial segregation and discrimination were deeply entrenched in American society. King dared to imagine a future where people would be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. His famous I Have a Dream speech, delivered during the March on Washington in 1963, was a vivid expression of his imaginative vision for a more just and equal society. King's ability to articulate this vision inspired millions of people to join the struggle for civil rights, ultimately leading to significant legal and social changes, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. King's imagination in action not only transformed the lives of African Americans, but also laid the groundwork for ongoing efforts towards equality and justice. In the field of technology, the imagination of pioneers like Steve Jobs has reshaped the way we interact with the world. Jobs, the co-founder of Apple Inc., imagined a future where technology would be accessible, intuitive, and seamlessly integrated into everyday life. His vision led to the creation of revolutionary products like the iPhone, iPad, and MacBook, which have changed the way we communicate, work, and entertain ourselves. Jobs' ability to imagine products that people didn't even know they needed revolutionized multiple industries and has had a lasting impact on global culture and society. These historical examples demonstrate that imagination is not just a passive mental activity, but a powerful force for change and innovation. The individuals who brought these imaginative visions to life did so by challenging the status quo, thinking beyond the limitations of their time, and believing in the possibilities of what could be. Their imagination in action not only created new realities, but also expanded the boundaries of what humanity could achieve. These examples also highlight the importance of perseverance and belief in the process of manifestation. The Wright brothers, Edison, Salk, King, and Jobs, all faced significant obstacles and opposition, yet they persisted because they believed in the power of their imagination. Their stories remind us that imagination, when combined with determination and action, can overcome even the most daunting challenges. The historical examples of imagination in action serve as a powerful reminder of the limitless potential of the human mind. They show us that imagination is the starting point of all innovation and progress, and that by daring to imagine a better future, we can bring about profound and lasting change. These examples inspire us to cultivate our own imagination, to dream big, and to take bold actions that can shape the world for the better. The concept that our external reality is a reflection of our inner states is a fundamental principle in many philosophical, psychological, and spiritual teachings. This idea posits that the world we experience, our circumstances, relationships, and the events that unfold in our lives mirrors our internal beliefs, thoughts, and emotions. In essence, what we carry within ourselves, consciously or unconsciously, is projected outward and forms the reality we live in. Understanding this principle is crucial because it empowers us to take responsibility for our experiences and encourages us to cultivate a positive, empowered inner state to create the life we desire. At the core of this principle is the understanding that our thoughts and emotions are not isolated, inert phenomena, but are powerful forces that shape our reality. The mind acts like a magnet, attracting experiences that align with the predominant thoughts and feelings we hold. For instance, if someone constantly harbors thoughts of fear, lack, or unworthiness, these inner states will manifest as corresponding external circumstances, perhaps in the form of financial difficulties, troubled relationships, or missed opportunities. On the other hand, a person who cultivates thoughts of abundance, self-worth, and confidence is likely to experience success, fulfilling relationships, and a life that reflects those positive qualities. This idea is closely related to the concept of vibration or frequency, which suggests that everything in the universe, including our thoughts and emotions, vibrates at a certain frequency. When we think and feel positively, we emit a higher vibration. which attracts similar high vibration experiences, people, and opportunities into our lives. Conversely, negative thoughts and emotions emit a lower vibration, drawing in experiences that resonate with that lower frequency. Thus, our internal state acts as a beacon, signaling to the universe what to bring into our reality. The reflection of inner states in reality is also evident in the way we perceive and interact with the world. Our beliefs and attitudes act as filters through which we interpret our experiences. For example, two people might face the same challenge, but their responses could be entirely different based on their inner states. A person who believes in their ability to overcome obstacles will approach the challenge with determination and optimism, likely finding solutions and learning from the experience. Conversely, someone who believes they are destined to fail may feel overwhelmed, discouraged, and ultimately give up, reinforcing their belief in failure. In this way, our inner state not only influences what happens to us, but also how we respond to and perceive those events, creating a self-reinforcing cycle. Moreover, the reflection of inner states in our reality is not limited to individual experiences, but extends to our interactions with others. Our relationships often mirror our beliefs about ourselves and the world. If we hold negative beliefs about our worthiness of love or respect, we may attract relationships that validate those beliefs, leading to experiences of neglect, abuse, or disappointment. Conversely, when we cultivate a strong sense of self-worth and love, we tend to attract relationships that reflect these positive qualities, marked by mutual respect, support, and affection. This principle also explains why certain patterns or recurring themes appear in our lives. These patterns are often a direct reflection of unresolved issues, limiting beliefs, or emotional wounds that we carry within. Until we address and transform these inner states, the external manifestations of those issues will continue to appear, giving us repeated opportunities to learn and grow. For example, a person who repeatedly finds themselves in toxic relationships might be carrying unresolved beliefs about their worthiness or fear of abandonment. By recognizing these patterns as reflections of their inner state, they can begin the work of healing and shifting their beliefs, which in turn will change the nature of the relationships they attract. Understanding that our reality reflects our inner state also places a significant emphasis on self-awareness and personal growth. It encourages us to look within, to examine our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions, and to take responsibility for the life we are creating. Instead of blaming external circumstances or other people for our problems, we begin to see how we may be contributing to those situations through our internal state. This shift in perspective can be incredibly empowering because it means that we have the power to change our reality by changing ourselves. Transforming our inner state involves several key practices. One of the most important is cultivating positive and empowering beliefs. This can be achieved through affirmations, visualization, and self-reflection. By consistently focusing on thoughts and beliefs that align with the reality we want to create, we begin to shift our internal state, which will eventually be reflected in our external circumstances. Another important practice is emotional regulation. Emotions are a direct expression of our inner state, and they play a crucial role in shaping our reality. Learning to manage and transform negative emotions, such as fear, anger, or resentment, into positive ones like love, gratitude, and joy, is essential for creating a harmonious external reality. Techniques such as mindfulness, meditation, and emotional release can be helpful in this process.